So you want to play a tank in 14. You want to be the big one with all the armor, taking all that damage so your squishy compatriots can DPS in peace, but you're not exactly sure where to start. Well, you've come to the right place, my friend. I, man who is not geared any other role besides tank, is here to give you the primer on what you need to get started. Now you may look at tanking and think,
I don't know if I want to do this. It seems like a lot of responsibility.
I'll let you in on a little secret. A secret us tank mains have been keeping for years. This is the easiest role in the game. Your job is just to hit the enemies and face them away from the party.
What about threat? Don't I need to manage it?
It really doesn't take a lot to get threat. Just remember to turn on your tank stance and hit the bad men with your DPS abilities.
What about positioning the boss?
Really, you just want to ensure the boss is facing away from the group so that your melee can do positionals and you don't end up cleaving the party.
Do I need to focus on DPS?
Yes. Listen, I know that tanking might seem intimidating, but it's really not that complicated. Honestly, the thing that requires the most effort and finesse is mitigation. Now, as a tank, you have a few tools at your disposal. Generic things like Rampart, and more job-specific stuff like your specific reductions, party buffs, and healing. However, as I've journeyed throughout Eorzea, I noticed that many people seem to have forgotten about some of the mitigation that tanks get from role actions, much to the displeasure of healers everywhere. While most people only use Arm's Length as a knockback canceller, it also inflicts a 20% slow to enemies, which not only slows their movement speed, but slows their auto-attack rate, causing much less damage. In dungeons, pop this and a damage reduction to make most wall-to-wall pulls a breeze, unless your healer is currently unconscious. And of course, Reprisal can be used similarly, but it can also be used in high-end content to mitigate raid-wide damage. You know, give the healers a break from carrying your asses. But of course, when talking of mitigation, we gotta talk about the invuls. Your get-out-of-jail-free card, a way to ensure you won't be killed. By most things. They can seem intimidating to use, but really it's not that rough. You see, whenever you feel like you're in danger of dying with the next 10 seconds, hit the button. See, nothing can hurt you. No matter if it's a boss or a miniature machinist, you will walk away scot... Dave, why did you stop shooting? Huh. Well, always remember, timing is important. I think that's enough of the generics. Let's move on to the individual tanks. Dark Knight, the class edgier than your 10-year-old Sonic OC. You draw the enemy's attention with your big, girthy sword. Let your enemies feel it with your basic combos, as well as Blood Spiller and Quietus. But it's not all about the sword. Dark Knight has access to powerful, damaging abilities, like Edge of Shadow, Salted Earth, and even the legendary Abyssal Drain.
Ooh, that's kind of small.
But damage is only half the battle. They also have mitigation tools such as the Blackest Night. It's a big shield, and if it pops, lets you use one of your shadow abilities for free. While it sounds great, and it is, remember that the shield costs about the same amount of MP as the shadow abilities, so still try to be careful while using it. You never want to run out of mana. But of course, there is still the all-important invuln, Living Dead. Did you die? Well, yes, but actually no. Instead, you enter Walking Dead. While you can't die in this state, if you are below max HP after 10 seconds, death will kinda stick. Now, for a while, this is what the ability was, and it was the worst tank invuln of all, given that your survival was based on your healer's situational awareness. But now your weapon skills heal you while you're in Walking Dead, allowing you to survive independent of your healer having functional eyes. So, if any of this armored-clad edgelord's mechanics sound fun, or you just want to do your Cecil cosplay, maybe Dark Knight is the job for you. Gunbreaker, the tank who is actually secretly 3 DPS in a trench coat. Its focus is generating cartridges with your basic combos to spend on your continuations, powerful OGCD abilities which you weave between your normal abilities. Now, as much as you might like to burst your load all over your enemies, it is important to remember that between a GCD, you can only fit 2 off GCDs. At least through legitimate means. So it's important to remember you don't attempt to weave too much, because your third input will not work. And of course remember, all of your mitigation is off global. So as much as you might want to fit more into your burst, it's important to remember to use protection. But you don't just have shields and reductions. Unlike Dark Knight, you have access to a healing ability in Aurora. It isn't enough to replace a healer, but it can help in a pinch and is great for solo content. But of course, what tank would be complete without the invuln? And Gunbreaker's is super bow-lied. Upon hitting this button, you will become impervious to most attacks at the cost of shooting yourself in the skull, setting you to 1 HP. This can get you out of a lot of jams, but there are important things to keep in mind. As you may see on the tooltip, it says most attacks. And while there aren't many of these attacks, you will really feel them with a singular HP. With other invulns, this distinction is also important. But for you, it's doubly so, since you now have the HP of a piece of paper. And of course, while you may want to slap this button before you think you're about to die, remember, you aren't the only one trying to keep you alive. And there's nothing more terrifying than drawing white mage aggro. Paladin, the spell-slinging, justice-bringing, sword-and-board tank. Where to start with Paladin? No, seriously, where the fuck do I start? Paladin, despite being the main job in expansion, has been in the midst of a bit of an identity crisis. For most of its life, its role in the lineup of tanks was the go-to off-tank. With abilities like Clemency and its builder-spender focus, it was kinda well-suited to the role. However, as of 6.3, Yoshi P decided to carve out a new niche for Paladin by focusing them on a 1-minute burst window cooldown. Let's just get to the rotation. Executing your basic combo allows you to do 2 things. 1, you get access to Sword Oath, allowing you to use Atonement, a potent GCD that recovers MP. And 2, you get Divine Might, allowing you to use one of your damaging spells for free. These are the filler between your major burst ability, Requiescat. This ability turns on your powerful Confiteor combo, which is composed of powerful damaging AoE spells and is the core of your burst window. But damage isn't everything. You also have mitigation like Passage of Arms, a powerful party damage reduction, Divine Veil, a very nice party-wide shield, and Clemency, a very powerful healing spell. But of course, there is its most important mitigation, the invuln Hallowed Ground, granting you full invulnerability for a full 10 seconds. And it is a little underwhelming, I'll be honest. Well, it has the least strings attached of any other invuln. Its cost is really its absurd 7-minute cooldown. With other invulns, their cooldowns mean you could potentially weave them into your normal mitigation for a fight. But Hallowed Ground is almost always going to have to be reserved for an emergency. And unfortunately, it makes it far less flexible than any of the others, especially one we have yet to get to. But if massive spells and a toolbox of utility abilities sound interesting, maybe give Paladin a shot. Warrior, the tank with the biggest weapon, the biggest armor, and the biggest unga-bunga tank of them all. You want to charge into battle without thought, and somehow walk out the other side at full HP? Then this is the job for you. And any primates who have access to a keyboard. You see, unlike the other tanks who apply a lot of shields and damage reduction, Warrior takes the approach of hitting the undo button on that damage. Healing is the name of the game, and by God you have it in spades. Even just through your basic combo you get Storm's Path, a nice 250 potency cure, but stuff really gets interesting with Bloodwetting. This handy little button gives you a 400 potency heal every weapon skill, which is big healing. But wait, there's more. This scales in AoE off of the enemy's hit, which means in dungeons, it's even bigger healing. And with cooldowns to deliver big heals, or even just increasing your max HP, dying is not on your to-do list. But you aren't just about the healing. You have an axe. Use it. With powerful attacks like Fell Cleave and Primal Rend, you dish out as much damage as you heal through. But of course, you also have Inner Release, letting you spam Fell Cleave for a short time. A DPS cooldown so nice that every other tank stole Warrior's homework. But of course, we save the best for last. Home Gang. What I would argue is the best invuln of all tanks. First off, it really has no downsides. Living Dead needs you to heal yourself and Superlight sets you to 1, but Home Gang is simply you cannot die, full stop. And while there isn't built-in healing like Living Dead, you are playing Warrior. You can heal it off. Just drag your hand across the keyboard, you're probably halfway there at that point. And the other big part is its cooldown. Most tanks can use their invuln about once a fight, maybe twice if they're lucky. With only a 240 second cooldown, you can afford to use this twice in the average fight. So if big damage, big axes, and big healing sounds like a good idea, or if you just like the idea of laughing in the face of death, maybe give Warrior a try. And that is the basic on every tank job in 14. I hope to those of you who are considering playing the role have found the perfect plate wearer for you. With that, thank you all for watching and...
Wait, you forgot something.
Huh?
You forgot about Paladin's cover ability. How useful is that?
Ah yes, my mistake. Well, you see, cover is useful for a variety